Lance Barber is open to appearing as George in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, but under one condition. The young Sheldon finale was defined by two stories: Sheldon's move to California for his postgraduate studies and George's death. Both were expected storylines, considering what was revealed in The Big Bang Theory, but they were still intensely emotional to see play out on the screen. While Ian Armitage can easily be brought back to the franchise, it is a bit tricky to see Barber reprise his role as George, although he is not opposed to it. In an interview with Dexerto, Barber was asked if he is willing to step back into the shoes of the Cooper patriarch in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. Unsurprisingly, the actor is more than willing to do so, considering how much he enjoyed playing the characters. That said, he has one stipulation. Regardless of how the young Sheldon sequel spin-off brings back the character, it shouldn't ruin George's well-executed send-off. Read his full quote below. How Barber can return as George in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage without ruining his death. There are some creative ways to bring back the Cooper patriarch. George's death was long determined in The Big Bang Theory, so while there were petitions for young Sheldon to break from continuity, Chuck Lorre and his team decided to stick with the established canon. Losing the Cooper patriarch was difficult, but it highlighted the series' strength, which was its ability to balance comedy and drama. Given how emotional it was, it only makes sense that Barber is careful not to ruin his legacy, even if it means passing up the chance to reprise the role. Luckily, there are a couple of ways to bring George back in the sequel. Firstly, it could be via a flashback sequence. This is the easiest way to do it, since it doesn't require any adjustments to his death. Secondly, the most interesting approach would be through visions or dreams. Georgie can dream about his dad, which The Big Bang Theory similarly did with Jim Parsons' Sheldon when Arthur Jeffries died. If Georgie and Mandy's first marriage wants to be more creative, it could be Cease's dream. This way, George would still be separated from reality but connected with his granddaughter. Our take on Barber's potential return as George in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. George is welcome to appear, but it should be done later on. While I would love for Barber to return as George, Georgie, and Mandy's first marriage must save his possible cameo for later down the road. At this point, CBS and Lorre should focus on establishing the show and its new ensemble. That includes George's franchise replacement, Will Sasso's Jim McAllister. Doing this would help them ensure the sustainability and growth of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. While it can lean on its connection with young Sheldon in its earlier years, the goal is to ultimately stand on its own. This was what its parent series did when it broke away from The Big Bang Theory. Despite the temptation to bring back Ian Armitage's Sheldon, the creatives are holding off on seeing the boy genius visit his older brother in his new home with the McAllisters. For what it's worth, this appears to be the priority of Lorre and his team of writers. Many of them previously worked for young Sheldon. Despite the temptation to bring back Ian Armitage's Sheldon, the creatives are holding off on seeing the boy genius visit his older brother in his new home with the McAllisters. Luckily, it's easy to explain his absence, considering his move out of Texas in the young Sheldon final. However, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage's special Thanksgiving episode, which will function as a reunion for the Coopers, will also not see Sheldon back. How George's death impacts Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. George's presence looms after his death. George may not have any physical presence in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage, but that doesn't mean that he is not part of its story. If anything, this makes him more important. As Georgie deals with fatherhood for the first time, he realizes how difficult it is to raise a child and support a family. This realization comes with a brand new appreciation for his father, who wasn't perfect, but was always reliable when it came to making sure that his kids had all they needed. This is also the reason why Georgie develops a close dynamic with his father-in-law. In the larger scheme of things, it also impacts what is expected of him as a Cooper. In the Georgie and Mandy's first marriage's premiere, Mary and Nima visit him and Mandy in their mobile home. While it isn't brought up, The Big Bang Theory revealed that Georgie ended up supporting his mom and sister after George died, essentially taking over his role. This is something that will be explored in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage as it goes, especially with Missy making an appearance in episode 2 and establishing how she will rely on his big brother for guidance.